Okay, anytime.
Hi, good morning. My name is Erin Ernest, and I'm here today with Gary Greenfield of Greenfield Naturals, and he is the creator of the Hydro Energizer. So we're just here today because we want to learn a little bit more about Gary's background. Gary, could you get us started today by maybe just giving us a little bit of some information about yourself and how you first really got into water and developed your passion for water?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, when I was about 50 years old, I had an experience. We had some friends over for dinner, some students. We lived in a college town. We always had college kids over, and we had kids, so we wanted to have them around kids a lot. So
Right.
this one young lady had shared with us at the table how her mother had been healed of cancer by a raw food diet.
Oh, wow.
And I'd never heard of such a thing. I was still into McDonald's and the standard American diet, and at the time I owned a coffee house, and people would come in and ask about organic, coffee, and I would think, well, what does that got to do with anything?
Right.
Why does it matter? I didn't understand. I didn't understand any of that stuff. I didn't understand genetic modification, what that was all about. It was all a mystery to me. And I was just busy running my business. But when she shared this with me, something just clicked in me. I thought, this is amazing. How can this be? How can food heal somebody of cancer?
Sure.
So after dinner, I talked more with her, and she told me that she'd been trained as a raw food chef because of her experiences with her mom, and I thought, this is amazing. I want to learn more about this. So I hired this young lady to teach me everything she knew about raw food preparation. So she would come over every week and share with me, and I bought all the equipment and learned how to make all this wonderful food, and that kind of opened the door for realizing the power of food and natural foods to have an impact on our health.
Sure. I'm sure you noticed a vast difference in how you were feeling and everything,
yeah.
right?
Actually, it opened up a whole new world, and so I started to become a lot more careful about what I ate, but at the same time, I also became even more. I wanted to know everything. When I get into something, I want to know everything about it. So that started me on a quest which lasted years, and I went from learning about food and nutritional values to essential oils, and I was reading all these books, all these books I could get my hands on, and at the same time, by then I had moved up to North Idaho to a little town called Bonners Ferry, and I was staying on a ranch there and just devoting every day to reading and studying and researching, and while I was in this mode, I stumbled across some information about water, and water is kind of off the radar. I thought, okay, I'll learn about water, and so as I was reading about what water was all about, I was just getting into it. I read a book by Victor Schauberger, which was talking about all these amazing invisible qualities of water, and I was down at the FedEx store shipping a package, and this lady was in there, and she was talking about water ionization, and I thought, what is that? I've never heard of such a thing. So she invited me to this presentation. I thought, I'll go. I'd like to learn what water ionization is all about. So I went to this presentation, and it was a Kangen water presentation. First time I'd ever heard of such a thing. Never seen a device like this. And so we were all sitting around the table, and they had us drinking different glasses, a glass of tap water and a glass of ionized water. And then they did these demonstrations showing how this water would extract more tea from the tea bag and how it would cleanse the pesticides off the tomatoes. Very impressive. But the thing was plugged into the wall.
Interesting.
And it used electricity. And I looked at that machine. By this time I'd been studying for a couple of years about the power of nature to heal, the superiority of natural phenomena, natural processes over man-made processes.
Right, so the whole idea of this device being plugged into the wall kind of went against that.
Yeah, I thought, how can we create superior water that's better than what nature gave us? So this set me on a quest, so I started to research water, and I couldn't find a lot on the internet at that time, for whatever reason. This was back in 2009. So, but then I realized Korea has always been a country that's been into water big time, and and China too, and the whole aspect of what they were doing was dealing with minerals. They would use these mineral balls to influence water and to change water, and to condition water, and to treat water, and to cleanse water. And this machine was supposedly doing it with electricity. So I thought, okay, well, let's see if I can match what this machine does. So I ended up going to China and going to Korea and met with these with the manufacturer of these mineral balls in both places. And when I was in Seoul, Korea, it was very fortuitous. I got to meet with the marketing director for this company that sells these mineral balls.
Oh, wow.
And they send equipment all over the world, that uses minerals to condition water. But there are these sacrificial, which means that it's reused. You need to buy more when they wear out, when they as they are assimilated into the water.
Right.
But along with him, for whatever reason, he had invited his friend who was a professor of biochemistry and taught medical students at the university. And his daughter had gotten sick with some kind of disease, and there was supposedly not curable. Well, what this doctor did, he took these mineral balls, but he just used what he called a torsion field, where he would use the energy coming from these mineral balls to treat the water. And when he was talking to me, I had no idea what he was talking about. I thought, I cannot understand this stuff, but I could see they were arguing.
Fascinating, though. Yeah.
Well, because the professor was arguing that you can take advantage of the non-sacrificial qualities of a mineral, and the marketing director of this company was saying, no, you need to take care of, the minerals have to be sacrificial in that they have to be absorbed into the water, and then you have to buy more every 6 months, kind of like a filter replace. And but there was a purpose for this, and I believe that this was just part of opening the door to a whole different aspect of technology and water that I'd never considered, and that in America is not embraced. And so I came back to America with this idea, and also while I was there, I did pick up this pitcher with minerals in it. It's just a pitcher with this mineral thing in it from this company, and I knew it could ionize water, but I didn't know if it was going to do it as good. Actually, I did know in my heart, and because I work by intuition, I knew it was going to do a better job, because faith and just intuition and just knowing how nature has operated for thousands of years just fine without our intervention.
Right.
So I went back to these people, and I went to their next Kangen presentation. I asked them if I could show, pit my pitcher against their Kangen water machine. Their $4,000 Kangen water machine against my $50 pitcher. So they said, sure, oh, no problem. They figured that we're going to show them how superior our technology is. So we did the same experiments with their water machine and the same experiments with the mineral pitcher. It's $50, and I beat them on every experiment. And so they said, we got to do this again. So we did it again. And
you beat them again?
Yeah, beat them again. I thought, that's it. This proves the power of nature. The natural processes are superior to what we do if we're not working with nature. And I knew that machine was working against nature because it was electrocuting the water. It was forcing the water into to a high pH and a low pH. And, it's just telling us, well, apparently there's high pH in water and there's low pH in water. But we look at, we get this balance, right? Well, that balance is really that balance of 7.2, or alkaline water. It's really a manifestation of the presence of acidic pH, a low pH in the water and a high pH. So it's all in there already. Sure. And why is it there? It's there because when the water needs to do acidic functions, it's got the tools to do it. If it needs to do alkaline functions, it's got the tools to do it. Well, that's something that the water ionization industry doesn't understand and doesn't acknowledge. They feel like we have to micromanage water and separate them out and say, okay, we'll use this water for these things, this water for these things, and there, we did it all, and we'll charge you all this money. Well, we don't have to micromanage nature. We don't have to change what nature did. Water has everything within it to do everything it needs to do. We just have to allow that to happen and acknowledge that it's there.
Right, it's a natural process.
But with our modern science, our modern technologies, we have to micromanage it, and we try to separate out, and we try to outdo nature. And by doing so, we actually interrupt what's going on with nature.
Wow.
For instance, and so these are things I've learned, of course. That was 2009. It's now 2016, right? Okay, well, I've been on a quest since that time, just learning everything I could about these invisible qualities of water and these attributes of water that are basically ignored for the most part. Although there are scientists all over the world that are doing amazing things with water, but it's not the norm by any means. So what happened after that experience? I just had this vision. I thought, you know what? We've got to figure out how to bring together the benefits of these minerals with and this is after reading Victor Schauberger. I knew that this vortex flow, that the way that water flows is extremely important. It's kind of like working out, lifting weights. Okay, if you go into a gym and you work out the wrong way, you could pull muscles, you could even break a bone.
It's counterproductive.
Yeah,
exactly.
you could injure yourself, right?
Exactly.
Because motion matters, right?
Sure does.
Emotion matters in everything. It's like cars. We have highways, right? If you don't follow the flow, you're going to get in an accident.
Right.
I mean, so flow matters, motion matters, everything we do matters, every action matters. Well, with water, we just say put it in straight pipes, get it from point A to point B as fast as we can, and we're good.
And that's it,
That's
right.
how it works best. An engineer does not think. An engineer would never say, okay, I've got to get water from point A to point B. We're going to take this crisscrossing, back and forth motion. Instead of having to go through a mile of pipe to get to where we need it to go, we're going to go through 2 miles of pipe.
Right.
They're going to say, this is not efficient. This is a waste of material. Well, that's not the way nature works.
Right.
We have to look at nature. Is there any river in the world that flows in a straight line?
Absolutely not.
No, everywhere you go, even if you
Doesn't
were
matter where you go, you'd never find that.
That's right. It's the same thing. You could even pour water down the plane of a piece of glass pane, and is it going to just go straight down?
No, it's not.
No, it's going to go like this because that's just what water does. That's what it wants to do. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for everything that happens in nature. Nothing happens in nature without having a purpose.
Right.
And nature is very efficient. So yes, even though the water didn't go from point A to point B in 1 mile, it took 2 miles to get there. It contributed to the efficiency and the effectiveness and the economy of what that water was supposed to be doing.
Right.
Okay, so if that water was going in a straight line, the fish perhaps in the water, I wouldn't say perhaps, the fish won't thrive in the water because the water isn't getting the life enhancement it needs from those back and forth motions. And plus the riverbanks would start to erode. The water would become stagnant. If we were to drink it, it wouldn't have the same qualities for us. It could even be toxic.
Right.
So flow matters very much. That's something that is ignored, totally ignored, in industry, in residential water treatment, in every aspect of where water is used. And water is necessary for everything on the earth. There isn't an industry on the earth that doesn't use water for one purpose or another. So there's just so much to learn about water. So anyway, as I've been learning about water, I realized that okay, I had the minerals. Going back to my first experience when I was realizing I had this vision. I thought, okay, I've got to be able to marry these minerals, which are in water, right? Minerals, for instance, springs. These springs that are everywhere. Okay, in our modern culture, we've capped a lot of them off, or we've not allowed them to remain in their natural state, and so we've messed them up. But for all of history, mineral springs have been a source of healing. People have gone to those springs for healing. Well,
sure.
That's a very inexpensive way to get healthy. You know what? You just sit in the water for a couple hours, you do it every day, and before you know it, your aches and pains are gone, and you're getting healed of all these different diseases. But that doesn't fit with the modern way. There's a lot of money to be made in medicine, right? And so we look for the more natural it is, the less expensive it is. The more effective, economical, and efficacious it is if it's natural. But we've been brainwashed and educated to think that the pharmaceuticals are best, that water that's been treated by water softeners and reverse osmosis and all these other filters is best. And I wouldn't say that those are unnecessary, but they're incomplete and they've got components to them that are toxic. So we've got to be able to think critically about everything we look at, and determine, is this good for me or not? And so, again, going back to the beginning, when I had this vision, I had a vision to be able to marry correct water flow with minerals. And so, about that time, I started looking on the internet, because that's how I was doing my research, and through books. And I came across this site that I hadn't seen before, which was selling a device that worked only on water flow. And the site wasn't working. It was just up, but it wasn't working. So I contacted these people. They were in Sedona, Arizona, and asked them what they were all about. And they said, well, they're just getting started on the internet. They're going to be selling these devices that work on water flow. And as I learned about it, I thought, this is what I'm looking for. I need to marry this device with the minerals. So I flew down to Sedona and met with this group that was promoting this water structuring device. And I shared with them, how important it would be and how great it would be if we could get these minerals into this device. Well, to make a long story short, I began to sell that unit at the same time, thinking, I want to continue to research and learn how to do that myself. Well,
so how far ago was this?
This was in 2009.
Okay.
So
this is about 3 years into your...
Well, actually, it was my first year into. It was probably my second or third year into learning about natural phenomena, but my first year in water. When I got to water, it's like that. I thought, this is where I need to be. This is, I felt like this is my calling. So I began to sell these units at the same time, try to learn as much as I could. And one of the principals of that company broke off and started to do farm research. He wanted to do more research, and that was really where my heart was. I really wasn't into. I didn't want to just sell this product just to sell it.
Right.
I wanted to perfect this vision I had. So one of the principals of this company got involved with agricultural research, and I eventually joined him, and together we did research, and at the same time we would sell units. So as we began to create this unit with this mineral influence, this information technology transfer technology, is really what it's all about. We began to sell the units and guarantee that they would work. That if the customer wasn't happy, just ship
Send it back, right?
But at the same time, we could get feedback, whether it was farmers or residential, homeowners. We could get feedback on the devices, so we could understand what's going on. Because that was how we did our research. Our research wasn't per se in a lab; it was with the general public at large and with farmers at large. And
that's the best way to do it, right?
Yeah, well, it was in a real-life environment.
Right.
It wasn't a controlled laboratory, which I don't believe reflects reality. Because in a controlled environment, for instance, I don't believe, this is really stretching it, but when you consider it, I think from the right perspective, you realize, yeah, this makes sense. Every experiment that's been done in our modern laboratories, they always use what they call pure water.
Sure.
So what is pure water? Well, to modern science, pure water is water with nothing in it.
Right.
So it goes through this reverse osmosis system, and so the water it's really stripped of really components.
Of everything in its natural state.
Yeah,
right.
so you still have H2O, right? Because that's what science says. H2O, two hydrogens and an oxygen. Well, that's water. Well, no, that's not water. That's incomplete water. Water in its natural state is filled with all kinds of minerals. That's part of it. So it's like we take all the clothes off the water and say, now the water is perfect. It's pure. It's in its original state. Well, it's not. And so then we use that water to do our experiments. And our experiments turn out, consistently the same way, because we're consistently using the same kind of water, which isn't natural.
Right.
So we're not getting real results as what would happen in real life scenarios.
Nature, right.
Yeah. So, and the end result of all this, of course, is that we've created an environment that is working against nature. We've got to ask ourselves. I mean, it's a matter of thinking critically. It's like we're like the frog in the water that's gradually boiling. We're getting higher in temperature until it's too late. I mean, we've got to consider we've been on this earth according to historic books, not according. Now, science would say, oh, it's been millions and billions of years. Well, where do those numbers come from?
Right.
Who made those up? Does anybody have proof? No. But we do have written narratives that are throughout history. The historical texts that say consistently throughout many civilizations that say that life on the planet started about 7,500 years ago. Okay, well that's at least we've got historical ancient texts that tell us that. We don't have anybody anywhere that has ever said it's millions of years. So going off of that, and even if it was millions of years, so be it. But for all of recorded history, we've never had a situation where we're in today where the planet is becoming polluted to the point where we can't sustain life on it, So what's going on? Here we've got all these modern technologies, right? Are they working? We're saying, oh, it's the best. We are the smartest. The ancients, they were monkeys. They were apes. They were cavemen. They were stupid. All they could do was light fires and go hunt, mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. And, but then how did these uneducated, people from the past build the pyramids?
Right.
We can't even figure that out today, And they've got hieroglyphics that show planes, flying.
Unbelievable,
Yeah,
right?
All this stuff, and we say no, they were stupid. They weren't enlightened. We're the enlightened ones, but yet we're the ones who are destroying the earth. So we got to ask ourselves, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing that the ancients didn't do? One, we're ignoring the ancients and we're disrespecting them, and we're giving them no credit for what they did, and we're cutting off all the tradition. This is something else you have to think about. Wisdom comes from building on from experiences and knowledge together. Well, when you have thousands of years of civilizations, they build on the past. They build on their experiences, and they grow in knowledge. And so there has been on the earth a tremendously rich store of knowledge for everything from medicine to metalworking to growing crops. All of these things, all that information was there, but from, it seems like within at least, especially the 20th century, we cut it all off. We just said, no, that's not important. They didn't know what they were doing. We're creating all these wonderful chemicals and all these and all these mechanizations that are going to make everything work better, and we have to do this because the population is growing, so we got to change the way things go. Well, it's not working, and it's not working because we're disrespecting nature, because we think we're smarter than nature. We think we're smarter than the ancients. We think that we are the vanguard of the future, and so we've got it all screwed up. So yeah, did I want to create a device? Yeah, I did. And it was based on all this. It wasn't just based on, I got an idea. I want to create this water device. That, it's really based on my quest to live out truth and to work with nature in a way that's respectful, and to create implements that will bring nature back into our world, which is so devoid of nature. So really, that's why I created the Hydro Energizer. Now, there's a few other things I'd like to say. In creating this, I actually have given this business up 2 or 3 times.
Really?
Well, there was another business before this, but it was the same principle. I walked away because why? Because it's the motivation even that got me started on creating this device. It's because I looked around at the world around me and thought, there's so much deception. There's so much delusion. There's so much distraction. There's so much that is taken away from the quality of life as we were meant to live it. And I thought, you know what?
So you found that very frustrating.
Yeah,
because you're putting so much of your heart and soul into this.
Yeah,
and everything that you're seeing in the world around you is a depiction of the exact opposite.
Yes, and even being in business, all the marketing concepts, all the tricks, and the used car salesman. So here I'm trying to sell something, right? And people are as skeptical as can be, saying this is snake oil. Well, I can understand, because that's the way we've been raised up. That's
how marketing works today. So
yeah, and the corporates and the education system. And really, the education system reflects the mindset of the corporates, who are really the ones with power, and they're the ones who put the government. Really, the government is there as a bully, as the strong arm for the corporates who have certain technologies that they want to promote that keep them in charge and keep them making more money. And of course, these technologies have to be residual, where we're always paying for more and more and more rather than getting free energy. You know, we have to pay for our energy. Well, energy runs everything, right? Energy is what my device is built on. Energy is what runs a car. Energy is what runs a home. Energy is what runs us, right? Everything is about energy. Without energy, there's nothing. There's no animation. There's no productivity. Okay, well, these big corporates, whether it's the food industry, which of course includes agriculture, whether it's the oil and gas industry, which of course runs all the planes and the boats and the cars, or whether it's the medical industry, which keeps us healthy. They're all really driven by greed, and and all the technologies that have been developed are based on making profit.
Right.
It's not based on what's best, what's most economical, what's most efficient, what is best for the earth, what is best that's going to create clean energy, that's going to make people healthy. And so the whole system is broke. Well, I saw this, and I see it still. And so I just wanted to get away. I just thought, I don't want to have anything just for all anymore. And actually, I went to a monastery. I've been to a monastery twice.
Oh, wow.
And because I thought, I'm done. I'm escaping the world. I'm just going to, it's not that I didn't want to work, because I love to work. I love to work hard. But I could work there and do things and just be away from all this garbage.
All the nonsense out there.
But the problem is that the monastery was corrupt too. And and here I thought, well, so what I've realized now is that it doesn't matter, and everything is corrupted in the world, and it's really a matter. I've just got to learn to thrive where to grow where I'm planted, and to be to do the best I can,
Despite the circumstances, and you know.
So that's where I'm at. So this whole, but the journey has been amazing in developing the Hydro Energizer. And the Hydro Energizer, I don't have one with me today, but they are on the website. But the Hydro Energizer is really the one that even the name I changed once the vision that I had in 2009 came to fruition in marrying all these technologies into one very small device. When that came to fruition, that's when I changed the name of the product, because it's like it said what it is. It energizes water. That's it. It energizes water. And how it does it, I don't know. I guess we might be able to get into that, but that's what it's all about. And when water doesn't have energy, everything is lethargic. Everything doesn't run right. Everything starts to break down. But because energy is invisible, right? It's invisible. You don't, it's like even gasoline. Gasoline is just a fluid. It's like, well, what is this all about? Well, it creates energy. You need to marry that gasoline with the right mechanical object in order to create combustion. Well, in the same way, you have to marry water. You look at water. Water is just some liquid. How can there be energy in this? Well, when you marry it with the right device, with the right mechanism, it gives its energy, or it creates energy, it creates energy. So basically, that's a little bit about my background.
Well, that's fantastic. So the Hydro Energizer, can be used by anybody. I know you mentioned agriculture, people, homeowners.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that,
Okay.
a little bit more detail, because
Yeah.
I think that people are really interested to know more about that. How it can be beneficial to them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the Hydro Energizer is very small. Right? It's a device that can go. Whether it's for instance, I spent 5 months in India recently, and I found India is very receptive to this technology, much more so than America. As a matter of fact, that's where I'm even manufacturing the product, because we don't even have the manufacturing facilities in America to do what I could do there. It's sad, because I would much rather develop, manufacture it here, but it's either not. It's not cost effective, because all the mechanisms that go to contribute to all the parts that go into my unit, they're not. They're all over the country, or else they're prohibitive in price, or else they're just not here. It's all in China or India. Well, India, I chose to go to India to develop the product further, but also to promote the product. Because their research, it's much easier to do the research. It's much easier to get the product made. As a matter of fact, I'm working with a water engineer there who's been in business for 40 years, and he's manufacturing the product for us. And I spent 5 months there working with them to develop the processes and everything. But what was amazing, we were in Bangalore, which is a city of 20 million people. Okay? Well, it's everything we need, all the technologies that we need, all the machinery that we needed, all of the everything from
awesome.
boxes, from making the boxes to making the silicone spheres that go into it, to machining the parts. Everything was within 30 minutes of where I was staying. It's like, this is amazing, so I could
That's
not
very
do
convenient.
that. Yes,
Yeah.
I couldn't do that in America. So, and India is a very self-contained country. Everything they need to do, when the rest of the world, as the economy falters, India is probably going to come out the best because they're completely self-contained and they're kind of off the mainstream. But yet they very much supply to the rest of the world all kinds of important contributions for technology and for banking and such. But anyway, so the product is being manufactured there. And also we're doing research there with universities for agriculture because, of course, India is a very agrarian nation. And what's unfortunate, they're very much connected with nature. They're more closely connected than America is. Their medical system is very ancient. They're still connected with ancient technologies, ancient traditions, and ancient practices. Even their families, it's still there. A family that's in business, they've been in business for hundreds of years, and that they pass that knowledge down. So they're very, very good at what they do because they're still into that mode that the West has broken that. They cut it off and they said, okay, go to university, learn a trade, and it doesn't matter what your ancestors did. You just learn a new trade, and we'll teach you. We'll give you everything you need to know at the university. Well, that's not. I mean, the Western ways, of course, are present there, but so consequently, also the Western technologies have corrupted the agricultural system to where the soil's being ruined. So we're there working with universities to show them how we can bring life back to the soil, and we could free up all those elements and minerals that are bound up in the soil because of chemicals. And so we're having quite an impact on it, and we're very excited about the research that's going on. Additionally, we talked about applications, big applications, agriculture. We can transform agriculture. And also industry. One of our first industrial applications was for a power generation plant. And what we did, we eliminated and this is a story, it's on my blog. I got the pictures there. But we eliminated this huge industrial softening system. We eliminated all their chemicals.
Wow.
Just by using just using devices about this big, and eliminating a huge room, area of all these, big machines that were treating the water. We eliminated them all. Although I did tell them to keep some chlorine in the water just to reduce the possibility of algae, which really wouldn't have affected anything other than aesthetics. But I didn't want them, I didn't want anything interrupting their causing them to think it wasn't working. But it's been in place now for 3 months, and they wanted to wait 3 or 4 months before they come out with their own reports because they wanted to make sure it's working because it's a new technology we've never heard about before. So, and we've got many other applications that we've been going into there. So